Hi, historians. We're studying Jewish history right now. And for you new students, hopefully you're reviewing some of the earlier sections that our class has already studied. Israel is located in a crossroads between the East and the West. It's a very coveted area of the world because it serves as this crossroads trade between the East and all the way through Europe, the Mediterranean world. Consequently, all the empires in those days, everyone that got powerful enough on their way to Egypt, conquered Israel. And the Jewish people had to endure one ruling empire after another. Some they managed to endure better than others, depending on the rulers. Last week, you learned that the Chaldeans conquered Israel and exiled the Jewish people to Babylon, where they spent 70 years. Then the Persians conquer the new Babylonians, the Chaldeans, and they allow the Jewish people after 70 years to return to Israel, where they rebuilt the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. Then we learned a little bit more about Jewish history and Jewish customs. In lesson 4, we're going to continue to see how one empire after another conquers Israel and how the Jewish people endure these conquerors. In the first part of section 4, we learn about the arrival of the Greeks, which happened under Alexander the Great, and how they endured the Greek rule. They did pretty well. Remember, the Greeks were polytheistic. They worshiped many gods. And this rubs the Jewish people, who are very obstinate in their covenant with God that they will only worship one God, which many of these rulers didn't understand. Many of them thought, well, there's always room for another God. Not so with the Jewish people. So under Greek rule, there is a big rebellion against a family of rulers called the Maccabees, which resulted in what the Jewish people believe was a miracle, and they celebrate this victory over the Maccabees with the celebration of Hanukkah. Next comes an even greater foe. The Romans, who conquer the Greeks, are going to also conquer the Jewish people and eventually take their land away from them, because the Jewish people continue to rebel against the Roman rule, and they will scatter the Jews throughout the world. The Jewish people won't have a homeland until the 20th century again. We'll talk about that next week. This week, we'll finish section 4, lesson 4. Then we'll see a video and a little worksheet that goes along with it about Israel, the history of the Jewish people. And on Friday, you will take a short practice test that's in your workbook on pages 195 to 200. Now, please understand, at the end of each chapter in the workbook, there is review sections for each section or lesson of the workbook. So you can look this over and then take the practice test. Makes it much easier. It's an open book. You can find the answers in the review section of the workbook or in the text of the workbook. And even use some of the study sheets that we've completed in this chapter. We will have a test and a crossword puzzle on this chapter before we go into studying Greek history. Pretty exciting. Looking forward to it. A new unit in Greek history is very fun. Thank you. See you later, historians.